Hi there, AWS Cloud and tech enthusiasts. I'm Greg Powell, creator of Thoughtful Techie Cloud, your go-to source for all things AWS Cloud and tech. Today we are diving into an exciting topic, the ultimate roadmap to becoming an AWS Solutions Architect. Welcome back for our returning subscribers, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. It's great to have you aboard. I invite you to subscribe below and join our growing Thoughtful Techie Cloud community. Every week, I'm uploading videos to help guide you on your AWS Cloud and tech journey. And make sure you hit that notification bell as well, because I don't want you to miss any of my new videos. All right, so let's get right down to it. Becoming an AWS Solutions Architect is no walk in the park, but it is one of the most awesome cloud roles you could possibly ever dream of. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This video is probably going to be a lot different than some of the other videos you've seen. The content I create here gives you the real world perspective on cloud and how to get into it. Now, you might see a lot of videos talking about, oh, you can get into cloud in 30 days and 60 days and all this type of instant gratification type of stuff. This is not going to be that video. I've been a solutions architect at AWS for over 7.5 years. And some of the information I'm going to give you in this video is information that I wish I would have had when I got started. This roadmap I'm going to lay out for you is based on all my several years of experience and the lessons learned all combined together and handed over to you. Before we get into the details of the roadmap, I want to highlight two things. The first is this is going to take a lot longer than you probably anticipate. You're going to need to expand your time horizon of how long you think this is going to take in your head to set expectations properly. The second thing, like everything else in life, this is not necessarily going to be a linear journey. There's going to be some challenges and hurdles that you're going to need to get through. And your challenges and hurdles are going to be unique to you. What may be easy for others may be hard for you, and vice versa. I'm giving you permission now that it is okay to fail and it's okay to make a mistake, because guess what? It's not a mistake as long as you learn from that mistake. That's called a lesson. Now that we've gotten that out the way, let's dive into the first step on the roadmap, and that's to understand the role. What is an AWS Solution Architect and what do they even do? At a very high level, an AWS Solutions Architect becomes a trusted advisor to a customer. The AWS Solutions Architect learns the goals of what that customer is trying to achieve and then works backwards from those goals to help design and architect a cloud solution to deliver on those business outcomes. Not only will you have to be deeply technical, you're going to be routinely having business level conversations with CEOs and CTOs. Sometimes in the same day, you may be having very deep down in the weeds conversations with developers. You need to be able to excel at both ends of the spectrum. Once you have a good understanding of this role, you need to make a decision. Is this what you want to do? And if it's so, you need to commit to moving forward on this and realize that if this is what you want to do, there is no plan B. There is no alternative. It's full steam ahead towards becoming an AWS Solutions Architect. You also need to tell yourself that you deserve this. You are capable. And if you ever have that voice in your head trying to plant seeds of doubt, just silence it and stay focused on the goal that you've set for yourself. The second step, and there's no way around this, is that you're going to need to have fundamental IT skills. Now, you either have these or you don't. So I'm going to address this from a stance that, let's say you don't have these fundamental IT skills. What do you need? You need to go into this position having a fundamental understanding of compute, database, network, storage, and security. Not necessarily in a cloud context to begin with. You need a basic understanding. The certifications that I typically recommend for this are CompTIA A+, CompTIA Network Plus, and CompTIA Security Plus. Now, you don't need to go out there and get all 3 of those, but definitely go grab the CompTIA A Plus at a minimum, flip through that and use that as a reference if you have no fundamental IT skills. Because you got to remember, as an architect, you have to have a big overarching view to figure out how the individual building blocks fit together. And that's why you need to come into that position with the fundamental skills. Once you have those fundamental skills, you can move on to the next step, which is developing an AWS cloud foundation. In AWS, there are an enormous amount of resources, but my job here is to help you focus and filter through the noise so you can make the most of your time. The fundamental AWS skills, if you don't have any, the best way to get started is to take a look at the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner certification. This is going to give you the fundamental knowledge for which you can build on to become the AWS solution architect that you're dreaming of. Now, what I really like about the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner certification is that it combines all the knowledge that you should know up to a fundamental level and then gives you this plan that where you can go and study these things so you can come up to speed. So you're going to learn things like, what is a global infrastructure? What is the value proposition of cloud? What are some of the fundamental core compute services and database and network and security and storage and these types of fundamental AWS concepts? And as you move up your AWS career, you're always going to be referencing these fundamentals because this becomes literally the foundation of your knowledge for which you'll build upon. After you've cleared your AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner certification, I now want you to take a look at associate level, specifically the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate certification. Now I'm going to pause here for a minute because we've talked about certifications, 2 certifications back to back. Now for your fundamental certification, that cloud practitioner, you didn't necessarily need hands-on experience. But as we navigate to that Solution Architect Associate, I want you to do a mix of theoretical studying, so that's reading technical documents and doing computer-based tutorials and doing practice exams. But along with that, I want you to make sure you're getting hands-on skills. Oftentimes, too many times, I see people that reach out to me that say they got 4 or 5 different AWS certifications. They didn't spend any time on hands-on experience. Now they're going to apply for jobs or going on interviews, and they're having a very tough time answering those architect level questions because the questions on these exams are fairly straightforward. You're giving a scenario, you're giving some multiple choice answers, and then you have to select the best answer in the context of the question. Well, in real life, you're going to be working with customers. You're going to be learning what challenges they are trying to solve. In a business context, then you're going to need to figure out what use case aligns to the correct architecture, and then you're going to need to build a solution in response to that. And that's a lot more challenging than just answering multiple choice questions on an exam. This is where the hands-on experience comes into play. And one of the best places to look and get hands-on experience is AWS Skill Builder. Now, there's something on Skill Builder called AWS Skill Builder Builder Labs. These do require a subscription, but they're over 100. These give you access to a live environment that you can go in on an AWS console and perform actual labs that are curated for you that you learn very specific concepts. And as a suggestion, you could even list these labs as projects on your resume. This way, when you're applying for jobs and going through those interviews, now you know exactly what you did in this real lab setting, and you can speak definitively to the interviewer's questions. After you've cleared the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, I really want you to live in the space of doing hands-on labs and projects for quite a while before you just jump straight into Solution Architect Pro. Because this is not a race to see how many certifications you get. This is really, take your time with this, because it's not just how many certifications can I get on the wall, but it's, do I have the right skills to do these jobs that the employers are putting out here on these job boards? Speaking of jobs, let's fast forward Imagine yourself, okay, you decided that you want to become an AWS solution architect. You went out and built the fundamental IT technical skills. Then you got your AWS certified cloud practitioner. You went into your AWS certified solution architect associate. You got that, and you also spent a lot of time on hands-on labs. Now you're at the point where you're looking at the jobs. How do you navigate that? I want you to navigate platforms like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, and look for roles that are suited to the skills you've built. Take a look at those job descriptions. Read the job descriptions. What are their employers asking for? What are the minimum requirements to fill the job? And what are the preferred qualifications, which are also the nice to have? You don't need to meet every particular requirement on the job description, because remember, a lot of times these job descriptions are wish list that the hiring managers put out. But as long as you meet, I would say, at least 2/3 of what they're asking for, you can stretch a little bit, apply for these jobs. In addition to just applying for the jobs, make sure you are networking. And I want you to focus on 2 key areas. Network online, especially LinkedIn, because this is where your future employers live. This is where the recruiters live. And this is where your future colleagues that work at the companies you want to work at live as well. See if you can somehow manage a referral from somebody you know as a way to help get your foot into the door. This helps out greatly. In addition to the online networking, try your best to go to conferences and meetups in person. Shake hands. Let people learn your name and be able to put a name to your face. Rub elbows with people so that people begin to know who you are, and you start building like a brand around who you are and what you're about, so that when people do have jobs, they think of you when it comes time to fill that job. Congratulations, you've gotten a job. Now you're all done. You can kick up your heels and just coast. Wrong. The cloud computing industry is a rapidly evolving industry. It never stops. There's new features and services coming out all the time. If you rest on your hind parts and you don't continue to learn and improve, you're going to be a technological dinosaur real quick. That's why you have to build a plan to continually stay up to date on trends. So make sure you're continually reading AWS blogs, following AWS podcasts, and listening very closely to the customers you're working with and the trends that are up and coming and bleeding edge, because these will eventually replace some of the older methods for how you're building things now. And finally, once you've gotten to the point of where you want to be, make sure you give back to the community. Share with others. Help mentor others. Pay it forward to somebody that was in your position now as you've climbed up the ladder and you're on top of the mountain like, yes, I'm an AWS solution architect. Help the people that are still trying to climb that ladder to get up to where you are, because it's the right thing to do. Remember these 3 things. Becoming an AWS solutions architect lies in continuous learning, practical application of that knowledge, and continual networking within the industry. If you could only focus on those 3 things and work backwards from there, I think you're going to be more than okay. And remember, as funny as it sounds, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So get started today. And if you ever need anything, just drop me a comment below. I'm more than happy to help. Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And don't forget, I'm sure you'll like this video as well.